What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. In today's video, I wanted to install some suspension parts on my 2005 Jaguar XJR. These Jaguars come with air suspension from factory, and that is great and all, but as they get older, they start to develop issues. They start to have leaks in the system, and sometimes tracking that down can be a headache. And even if you do track those issues down and you fix them, there's always another issue around the corner. So a lot of people, what they do is they convert to coilovers so that they can just get over all of that hassle and headache. And that's what I want to do to this vehicle. Although it already has coilovers, I wanted to install brand new coilovers from Maxpeedingrods and show you guys how to install them and let you guys know my honest opinion of how they perform. Before we go any further, I wanted to give a quick thanks to Maxpeedingrods for supplying the coilovers for my 2005 XJR. Let's go ahead and get right into the video and show you guys how to install these coilovers. Let's do a quick unboxing of these coilovers. I think the box is upside down, so they might be out of place. All right, and there we go. So these are the upgraded coilovers. They're upgraded as far as the build construction, and I think the settings, at least the dampening, has improved compared to the previous models. I'm gonna get the rest out of the bag and look at them. In the box, you're also going to get your tools to adjust the coilovers to your liking and an instruction manual. So we do have an adjustment knob up here that controls the dampening. There is more information on the manual that will guide you to see, what settings are best suited for your application and whatever you are trying to do with your vehicle. For me, I like to have it kind of like on the stiffer side of things, so I will adjust them before I put them on the vehicle. So this is not the first time that I've reviewed the Maxpeedingrod coilovers, and I don't see anything else here that has changed really. Everything looks like it's all the same construction that I'm familiar with, so that's a good thing because these guys are all solid here. The bellows are good quality bellows. They're not like a hard plastic that normally cracks. There is some give to them, so they should hold up and keep dust out of your shocks. The adjustment collars look like they're all in good condition as far as the finish. Everything looks pretty good here. No bent forks or anything. Slight surface rust there, but nothing that is going to affect the performance of this vehicle. There is some washes here, I'm assuming for fitment, but aside from that, like I said, everything looks pretty good here. Something that I do need to mention to most of you guys out there that are using your stock airbag systems, if you install the coilovers, you will get suspension error faults for the air suspension. So yeah, if you bypass this, you are gonna have to put a resistor, kind of like what you see right here. You're gonna have to add a resistor in line to kind of trick the system that everything is working as it should. I am not gonna go into detail of how that's done in today's video. I will try to make a separate video out there for you guys that are installing coilovers on these vehicles, and you don't want to have that error code pop up every time you're driving your vehicle because it is kind of annoying. All right, so once you get the wheel out, you're going to have a better look at your suspension here. If you have air ride, the first thing you want to do once you take your wheel out is to remove the air hose up there so that you can relieve the pressure from your air system. If it works, chances are that it might not work. This is what we're going to be replacing here because this is a aftermarket coilover. Sometimes you don't need to remove the upper control arm, but I'm going to do it just so that we don't run into any issues. This right here normally is a 17 if memory serves correctly, although this arm does look like it's aftermarket, so it might be a little bit different. There is another bolt on the bottom that goes through the shock body as well, and this is a Torx bolt. I forget the size on that. I think it might be a T55 or a T60, but regardless, we're going to go ahead and show you guys how it's done. So like I said, I'm going to remove this nut right here on the upper control arm. You might want to jack up the vehicle from the front completely, because sometimes when you leave one side jacked up, it is hard to get to the fastener down there because it puts stress on the sway bar and it just doesn't let it flex as it should. So the best thing you should do is jack it up from the front completely. I have the vehicle jacked up from the front, so this should be easier. I'm gonna go ahead and remove this, but as you can see, it looks like the ball joint itself is spinning. So sometimes when you have issues like this, it will help if you jack up the suspension and it puts pressure on the ball joint. Something else you can do is get a electric ratchet or something, and then usually you can get that off without doing that. So I'm going to show you guys how I do that right now. I have my jack kind of just supporting the suspension. This should make it easier to remove that nut. If you're still having problems with that, then you might have to lock that bottom stud from, spinning. I was able to get this upper control arm nut off. Now that we have that off, we're going to go ahead and lower down the suspension a bit so that we can make our way at loosening up that bolt right here. The next thing that you're going to do is jack up the lower control arm so that you have enough clearance to get to that Torx bolt right there. And then also you want to do this so that you can pull the bolts out as well. I'm going to go ahead and break that guy loose. And once we have that loose, we're going to move up top so we can remove the 4 bolts holding on the shock to the body. This fastener is a T60. I'm using a T60 bit with a 1/2-inch ratchet here. This guy's not on there tight at all, so that would kind of explain why I'm having some clunking noise in the suspension. So make sure that we tighten these guys down to spec once we're done. Looks like it's hitting right here on the arm. I'm going to get a pry bar so that we can clear that. With that bottom bolt out, you guys can see the shock is free here on the bottom. The only thing left to do is remove these 4 fasteners on top, and the shock / coilover should be free. These right here are going to be 13 millimeters. Now that you have everything off, you can remove the coilover. So I'm going to go ahead and show you guys here. Sometimes it can be a little bit tricky because of the length of the coilover. If you have airbags and you release all the air, this will be a lot easier. But since we're having coilovers, the length of these doesn't change, so it can be a little bit harder to get out. This is where you might want to use a pry bar to kind of pry it off of the lower control arm here, just so that you can get it out. But you guys can see here, we're almost clearing the top of the strut tower right there, so it shouldn't be too big of an issue to get out the rest of the way. Since I'm having a hard time removing the coilovers, what I'm doing here is just lowering the coilover itself by turning it. This will make it easier so that you guys can just pop it out without having to fight it. This might make it a little bit challenging to install the other ones, because that means we're probably gonna have to do the same thing to get them out. To install them. Nothing too crazy though. Alright, so doing that did make it a little bit easier to get it out. So on the left hand side we have the old coilover, which is also Maxpeedingrods, but this is the previous generation of coilovers. These are upgraded. It looks like the spring might be a little bit thicker on these ones. So yeah, looking at these springs, these are a little bit thicker than these, so that might be a good thing. But what I will say is that this is considerably heavier than this one. As you guys can see, it looks pretty much exactly the same except a different color. What I'm gonna do here is install it as is. I'm just gonna make sure that the preload is to the right specification. Normally what I do with the preload is I just tighten up the spring until I can't anymore by hand, and usually that is what you want to go with. So this spring looks like it already has quite a bit of preload on it, so I might not need to do that, but it's always good to double check. Measure it just so that I can make this a little bit longer so that I'm not as low. So I'll go ahead and do that off camera and install this bad boy. The installation of the coilovers is pretty straightforward. Just make sure that the nut is facing towards the back of the vehicle on the bottom of the shock fork. Once you have that installed, you can go ahead and raise up the coilover to the desired height. So for me, what I'm gonna do is probably set it at 26 inches from the top of the strut mount right here to the bottom, or I should say towards the middle of the shock fork here. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that, raise it up, and then I'm gonna go ahead and put everything back together. So it's about 26 inches of height that I have here from the top of that mount towards the middle of the bolt hole right here in the bottom. And I think that's where I'm gonna set the front to. I already have one of the nuts inserted in here. I'm gonna go ahead and use the ones that are new. These are the old ones, but the new ones I'm gonna go ahead and install instead. And then once I do that, I'm gonna set my dampening. Like I said, I think I'm gonna set it to the stiffest setting. I'm gonna go ahead and just put this guy back together, install this bolt back in, and I'm gonna make sure to torque it down. I ended up doing the driver's side off camera, so that's why the vehicle is pretty much all done in the front. What I'm gonna do now is do the rear. The rear should be a little bit easier. Gonna get this wheel off and show you guys how it's done. So for the rear, it's pretty straightforward as well. There is just one long bolt holding the shock body to the assembly right here. There is also 4 fasteners on top that we need to remove. But first, let's go ahead and break this guy loose and take it out. And then we'll go ahead and show you guys how to do the top as well. Because for the top, you do need to remove a bit of carpet out of the way from the trunk so that you have access to those fasteners. This is gonna be a 24mm. Comes out pretty easy. Let's move up and show you guys what else needs to be done to get these guys off. So for the rear, you are gonna have to remove your carpet, or at least move it off to the side like how I did here. But once you do that, there is going to be 4 fasteners in the back that you want to remove. Give you guys a better shot of that. As you guys can see here, there is 4 fasteners. The other one is kind of hidden underneath there. If you have the stock air suspension, you are going to have your lines that you need to remove, which are not too bad, you know, to get out of the way. So go ahead and remove these 4 fasteners out, and then your shock should drop down. So on the left hand side is the old coilover that we just took out. It's still in really good shape. These are the 2 little washers that it comes with. The rear on this vehicle actually was sitting quite a bit lower than the front, so I am going to raise up the rear a bit, maybe half an inch more, and see how that looks. So let's go ahead and install this guy back on. To install the rear coilover, it can be a little bit challenging just because you can't see the holes. They're kind of recessed in the body of the vehicle, so it might be a little bit hard to get it in. But once you get it in, it should be smooth sailing from there. This is where maybe having another person might be helpful, because like I said, I can't see the holes of where the coilover is supposed to go in, so it can make it a little bit challenging to get it lined up, but it can be done. As you can see, I just put it in the hole. Don't forget to put your spacers on here. Without them, it won't fit properly. I'm gonna jack this up and see if I can put the bolt through. It's the next morning and I finished putting the coilovers on the vehicle. This is the first drive that I'm taking on the new suspension. So first impression on the coilovers, they don't ride bad at all. I think they ride really good. They feel very similar to Tane suspension, and if you guys are familiar with them, they make a pretty good quality coilover as well. These guys feel really good, especially for a Jaguar that is meant to be, like I said, more of a luxury vehicle. These definitely feel great. They don't feel stiff at all, and that's with me having the settings turned all the way up to the stiffest setting. I feel like they ride perfect the way it is right now. Handling is really good. The only thing I will say is getting the coilovers adjusted to, you know, your preferred ride height might take a little bit of trial and error, just because I thought I had set it to a perfect height, but now that I've been driving it, I feel like the suspension has settled a little bit more than I would have anticipated. So in the rear, it did settle quite a bit more than the front, so the rear is a little bit lower than the front. So I will probably have to drive on it like this for like maybe a week or so and see how much lower the suspension sags. And then I'm gonna go back and make those adjustments to raise the vehicle up a little bit more, because like I said, I don't like having a vehicle that is too low to the ground, and right now it's borderline, you know, rubbing on the fender. So yeah, I'm gonna definitely raise it up a little bit more. Now, it's no secret that Maxpeedingrods did supply these coilovers to me, but I have an unbiased opinion about them, and I will let you guys know if it's a good buy or not. Personally, I feel like the original orange ones that were on this vehicle rode very similar. So it's hard for me to say, yeah, go for these instead, because they kind of offer the same thing. The only thing I will say about this one, I feel like the dampening is a lot better. I feel like the bumps, I don't feel as much as the, you know, old suspension that I had. So I feel like you get a little bit better handling with these coilovers, but is it worth like $200 more? You know, I'm not sure if it's there yet. Definitely pulls. Let's do a quick pull here. Definitely has some power, being a supercharged V8. Gets up there quick, and yeah, I don't hear any weird suspension clunking or any issues with the suspension. I didn't run into any problems installing the coilovers. Everything bolted up just fine. So who would I recommend these coilovers to? Well, if you have the original air suspension and you're having a whole bunch of issues with it, like leaks, error codes, and you just want to be done with it and install a coilover set, I feel like these fit that category great. Before I let you guys go, I just kind of wanted to show you guys what I'm currently set as far as the ride height. So yeah, I think I'm gonna raise this up a little bit more, and the same thing goes for that. But overall, guys, I feel like they ride great, they look good, and most importantly, they don't break the bank. For being a Jaguar, I feel like this is a great alternative, you know, to like BC coilovers, which are around $1,000, maybe a little bit more. So I feel like for maybe less than half of the price, you're getting a great deal, and it's not like these coilovers are gonna break overnight, you know. So I feel like it's a no-brainer, especially for me. I bought this car for $800, and I'm not trying to put a ton of money into fixing things. So I'm happy with the setup, and I definitely would consider these coilovers for my Jaguar guys out there that want to get rid of that annoying OEM air suspension. So with that being said, I want to give a quick shout out to Maxpeedingrods for continuing to support the channel over the years. If you guys are interested in purchasing a set of coilovers from Maxpeedingrods, definitely consider checking out the video description for a discount code and a link to the product that I used on this Jaguar. If you guys did like what you guys saw, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys all very soon. Peace out.